Good morning, everyone. Happy Friday. Of course, it's Fire Friday, and I'm so excited for you guys to meet my friend, Ted Boger. If you already know Ted, you already love him. If you don't know him, you're going to love him right after you get to know him. He is amazing. He's someone that I've known for many years, and, he just blesses us all, those of us who have the honor of knowing him. And I just want to put a disclaimer out there. I brought out my best jacket.
You look amazing.
My bling bling is in honor of Ted, because if anybody knows Ted, he wears the freshest jackets and just attire, and he always looks the best. So this morning when I was like, oh, what am I going to wear? It's Friday. Usually I just want to wear a cute top and I'm really bummy with pajamas down, but today I was like, I'm bringing out my Ted Boger jacket. I got to make sure I look good for him.
You look beautiful as always.
You're so sweet. Ted, thank you so much for being here. Obviously, this is probably a little on the reverse end of things because
this is crazy. Yes.
Yeah, you
have my mouth shut. It's not working. I'm sorry.
You're the host of the host that everybody loves to be on your show. The TED Show, obviously, and you started this about 3 years ago?
Yeah, 3 and it'd be 4 years in August. You can believe it. Over 1,000 episodes.
Oh, over 1,000 episodes. I think you're an innovator. You did it before anyone else was doing it with your little tripod, your little iPhone. That was your production studio, and I think it still is. And it works. And over time, it's evolved, and you've blessed the community and the community of real estate and the community of Orlando with so many amazing speakers and, just give back to the community over and over and over again. You are probably one of the most kind and selfless people I've ever met, who are always shining the light on others. So hopefully today we could sprinkle a little bit of that back and shine the light on you. And honor you. So every Friday we do this show, Fire Friday. We always bring an inspirational speaker, someone who could really add value to our life. Obviously, we're in real estate, but real estate isn't who we are. It's what we do. So we have amazing guests that come over sometimes, and they're not in real estate. In this particular case, you're someone in real estate, but not in real estate. So, you'll kind of fit into that category, but you're a beautiful person. You've overcome so much. Not only are you always that happy-go-lucky person, but you also have a story that's equally inspiring. And the adversity that you've been able to overcome can inspire so many people to know that they don't have to be a victim in life. They can go out there and build this amazing life. You're an amazing father, husband. Say hi to Stacy.
Hi, Stacy.
Sending her my love. But, you're also a childhood abuse survivor, a cancer survivor. You give back, you don't give up. So I want my friends to know who Ted is and take us through your journey and how you got to where you are today and inspire.
Well, thank you. First of all, that was beautiful. Now I understand why it's hard for guests not to cry when you're describing them. I'm sitting here getting all choked up going, oh my God. And it is weird to be on this side of it. So if I feel like it seems like I'm taking over, just shut me down. Just say,
take over, man.
It's my show.
Yes.
And you know what? I want to mention that camera stand because I just got a new one. But every time I would put the old one up, I would think of you and Tony because you and Tony bought that for me. It was completely, I didn't ask for it. I didn't say anything. Tony said, let's get you a different one. And I used that for years and thought of you guys every time I did. So kudos to you. Thank you for that. That really helped me out. So what do you want from me? I love this. Okay. So yes, all of those things about being a survivor are true. And the journey's been awesome. You want me to kind of share the journey?
Yeah, take us there.
So yes, I am a childhood abuse survivor. I talk about it a lot. I do a lot of work with Harbor House. We were definitely in a domestic violence kind of situation. And so that teaches you a lot of things early on how to survive. And it gives you these amazing tools that, I would never wish what I went through on anyone. But I was really blessed. I believe God gave me a lot of extra gifts that I would be able to take with me along the journey that helped me survive that. But came out of that it was a lot of years of therapy. I like to talk about therapy too, because it has still a bad stigma. And I think it's unfortunate that people don't talk to somebody, find somebody that they can speak with. Truly changed my life. And then having kids changed everything. It was the first time I had ever felt that, and it broke down a whole bunch of walls. I tell my kids, especially my oldest daughter, when you have that first kid, it's like this immediately, it's healing of that inner child that has been suffering for so long. There's something about that when you have your first child and you're an abuse survivor or any kind of survivor. But I never took the victim mentality. I always did what I had to do. And it was just, I feel like my whole life I've been blessed. God's been following me the entire time. And while things aren't always perfect, because they're not promised to be perfect, it has been an amazing, amazing life so far.
Wow.
I know that's generic, but.
Let me take you there real quick. You said therapy was, very helpful for you. I'm a huge believer in coaching, therapy. Also, this month is mental wellness month, awareness, and we've been talking a lot about that. But and I do feel like now society is a little bit more open to be like, oh, I went to go see my therapist. I love to talk to people. But when did you realize that speaking about this was going to give you freedom, was going to free you of the things that were holding you back? Because I went through something recently that I had to go back and be still and figure out what was from my childhood or from an era of darkness that would continue to resurface in my life through behaviors, through anger, through, behavioral patterns. And I had to have a moment, and I talked to someone and they were like, you've got to go back and discover what it is that continues to, maybe you can call the word haunt you or whatever.
Yeah.
And it was this exercise. And I literally was hysterical crying for like hours because I finally pinpointed it. And then, they said, you need to go back to that 14-year-old little girl and what would you tell her? And what would you do? And, I said, I'd hug her. I'd let her know she was worthy. I'd let her know this. And I just started going through that exercise, but that kind of set me free. But I guess I would ask you, what was it that gave you the courage to do so? Was it therapy? When did you know you had to do this? Just in case anyone's going through something that they might need to address internally that they haven't, maybe your experience could help them understand how to identify that.
That's great. And thank you for sharing that, because I think it's important that we continue to talk about all of these issues, because I believe the majority of us have a child that is in need of healing in each of us. So when you see adults act a certain way, you can almost always tie it back to some sort of trauma, something that happened in their lives. I don't believe people are born evil. And so usually it's some kind of tragedy, something that's really impacted them. For me, it was college. I began to see a therapist in college. Never before, never against it, just didn't go see anybody. And that gave me the ability, or taught me how to be more vulnerable. And the vulnerability has been key to so much that I have done in my life that's successful, because that vulnerability allows me to not put up all those masks or those walls that we're all taught to, or as our little children in us are telling us, that's how they protected themselves from whatever the danger was, whatever the negative was. And so I was able to learn how to be more vulnerable. And it's interesting because I remember very distinctly in college, I was super involved on campus, did a whole bunch of stuff. And I cried in the middle of something we were doing. And back then, dudes barely hugged back in the day. Now it's all cool, but back then, you might have high-fived. God forbid you saw a guy and a guy hugging. Well, many people came up and hugged me after that, including a lot of my guy friends who had never done that before. So there was a lot of cathartic moments in college because I allowed myself to continue to open up and discuss it. I feel like we bury things. We're taught to bury things. Everything's got to be positive, especially on social media. We put this whole world out here that everything is hunky-dory. And guys, I just want to give you a little secret. We all know it's not. So you don't have to pretend so hard. And honestly,
I want to say I think I'm captain of the shit show team.
well, I'm first mate then, because I mean, and that's the thing. I think we all live in a shit show of some kind, and what we do with it on the cycle of things, on the roller coaster, how we figure out how to adapt and make the turns and figure out how to continue to survive and thrive. I think a lot of it goes back to what we either learned or didn't learn as hurt children or hurt teenagers. And so we continue to perpetuate it because we never face it or deal with it.
And I want you to know, Ted, it's not always, like, let's say maybe it wasn't child abuse. Maybe it wasn't, rape. Maybe it was being bullied.
Yes.
I used to get jumped. I used to literally I was afraid to go to school. I was like a lot of things that people don't know. And, in society, and I also work in an industry where it feels like you could be bullied too. So, I mean, there's so many things that can cause childhood trauma that sometimes we skim through. We're like, oh, those were just your high school years or things like that. Like, we don't realize, but if we get really clear and maybe go back to that subconscious, maybe really go into a meditative state where you can go back what you felt, that moment where you were at, you will discover so much about what really caused that trauma. I think some people just don't know how to identify it.
They don't. Because you know what? Once they begin to identify it, then they have to face it. Because once they recognize it and accept the fact that it happened, then that is a whole nother thing. And you if you don't deal with that, in my opinion, that's where things start to happen. So I have PTSD from my childhood. And it took many years of therapy I know what my triggers are. I absolutely know what my triggers are. And it usually has to do with a kid, always a kid. And so I absolutely did not want to continue to have those PTSD moments. And so it took me a lot of therapy, but we don't talk about that either. Look, guys, you don't have to be in the military. God bless my military friends. To have PTS or PTSD from some sort of trauma and bullying. I'm so glad you brought that up. That is so rampant. And there are still bullies out there. I know there's a ton in our industry, Veronica, and in every industry. And sometimes I have to take a step back and go, all right, they're obviously have a little kid in them that hasn't dealt with it either. I don't want to give them too much credit, but sometimes I do feel sorry because a bully was probably bullied, and it's just this whole crazy cycle. So I want people to go out and feel good. If you want to ask me or call me or talk to me, well, don't call me, text me. Please reach out, because don't go it alone, because Veronica and I can attest to it. You're not alone in this whole thing.
Well, it will continue to show up. If you don't address these things, Ted, it'll continue to show up. And very much like you said earlier, and my coach talks to me about this all the time. So you said, you identify it, but then you face it, right? Then you're like, where else has this shown up in your life? So it wasn't just your childhood. Where else has this affected you that continues to show a pattern? Then you could address that. Then you can grow from it. So
absolutely. I love it.
I'm glad we got to talk about this. So, you've been able to overcome this. We're going to talk a little bit about giving back in a second. You also recently, you're a cancer survivor as well.
Crazy, right? That was all during COVID. I mean,
yeah,
who would think you'd get a cancer diagnosis? But I never felt, I knew I wasn't going to die. Does that make sense? I guess until you have cancer, you don't, but I just knew that this was not going to take me. So every 39 days straight of radiation during the height of COVID was crazy. Wow. And there's after effects of that I'll live with my whole life, but my body has no signs of cancer in it. So It's such a blessing after a year to be able to say that. And I made that announcement literally in April of last year when I found out, and all of us were locked down. I had to wait a few weeks to even get the treatment because everything was still going through all the protocols. So, yeah, I feel like, and I have a heart for survivors of any kind, but cancer survivors, because you have that survivor's guilt, and so many people don't make it that you think are going to make it. And so you just have to find ways to give back, which is what I try to do all the time. But it's so important to have something to focus on other than the cancer, in my opinion.
So, in regards to having gone through this during COVID, in addition to giving back, the mindset aspect of what you said, you have seen people who have been diagnosed with cancer, but you remained positive. I used to work for a doctor that we would see a lot of, this was like back in the days. A lot of the, what I can go back and remember now is, the negative energy, I mean, it was hard. They were depressed. They were sad. They were angry, yet did you go through an anger phase, and did you or did you always know, I just have to stay positive. I'm not going to die. I'm going to beat this. Like I have other things in life. And how much difference do you feel that made if you played into it? Because you're right. I've seen people, they'll eat you up. Then you've got others who are like, I beat it.
Yes, I think, and thanks for asking about it, because I think people are afraid to talk about it. And as a survivor of that, I feel like we need to talk about it more so we destigmatize it. We allow people to come out and be vulnerable and say, hey, this sucks. I was blessed immediately on many levels, including the fact that I did not have to do chemo. And so the radiation was an inconvenience at the time, but I knew that it was necessary to get to where I wanted to be. And I knew that it would not take me down. Coming from an abundance mindset, which you and I have talked about since we've known each other all these years, it just makes such a difference. It's almost like exercise. That's against my religion, which could be a whole nother story. But abundance has to be a lifestyle. You have to figure out ways to incorporate that in almost every thought you can possibly think needs to be abundance driven. And I feel like that, like exercise, got my muscles going and I was good to go. And so when I got the diagnosis, I didn't panic. I didn't get mad. I knew I wanted to announce it and deal with it in my way. And so I just took the bull by the horns. But not every story ends up like mine. And so I'm so grateful for the fact that I'm blessed for whatever reason that I'm still here.
Wow. Well, we are as well. You do so much for the community. So let's talk a little bit about you and what your initiatives to giving back. And I feel like you give back to so many things. You started the show. I have a lot of friends who are on this, who are realtors, who are watching. 2 things I want you to do, because I know you can help them. Number 1 is what prompted you to get started to do a show that gave back to others, right? And brought massive value, yet you were consistent with it. This is more like a tip for them to become influencers like you, right? Got a lot of people who say, oh, I want to be an influencer, or I want to do this, or I want to do that. Well, to me, it starts with taking action, being consistent, and bringing value. And that's what I believe you've done. But yet you did it when it was like, that's weird. Like that's not common. Again, I call you an innovator, an action taker. But for anyone who's thinking they want to get started on their show, I don't know, did you have professional training? Did you have a professional camera? Did you have a script all the time? It wasn't perfect, but it was value jam-packed.
Thank you.
Realtor friends who are out there, or anyone starting a business, or anybody who wants to put themselves out there, a tip from Ted on getting your show started or starting something today.
Yeah, the way I think it works best is if you're in business, if you are doing a show, real estate we'll use, because you asked that, real estate. So realtors, I would encourage you not to have every single post about what you just sold and what you just listed and what you just bought. The people want to like you, and once they like you, they trust you. Once they trust you, they want to do business with you. It's the old adage. There's a million different ways to say it. But going on your own show, if everything is all about the open house or the listing, and there isn't anything shared personally, then people don't respond to you. And because there are so many choices out there, you're not separating yourself from the herd. I also think that you need to have a cause that's important to you. Community involvement is so critical. And if you can establish yourself as somebody who cares about the community, that will be much further reaching than just listed or just sold. That's good and all, but you need to do something. I think that real estate's part of it, but you showing you is the biggest part of it.
I love that. I think, and I'll add to that, not only you showing you, how are you showing others? We've been talking a lot about this is stop making you the hero, make it about others. Because at the end of the day, you know, it really is about shining the light on others. You shine brighter. You shine brighter when you do. So just my little tidbit on that for those of you.
Agreed.
So, Ted, you obviously named this show The Importance of Giving Back. Let's talk a little bit about that. I know you mentioned a couple different organizations that you support. How can we give back? Why is this so important to you? What have been the most rewarding moments that have just fulfilled your life as a result of giving back so that others can do so?
Wow. Well, I'll address the importance of giving back, because I think that if you are not doing something for your global brothers and sisters, then you are missing out on a lot of rewards and a lot of benefits and a lot of good feelings, not to mention you're making a ripple effect by giving back. So my thought process is always this. When I talk to people about giving back, they immediately think it's a check. And I tell them that's not always the case. And honestly, if you don't have the money, you have your time, you have resources, you know people. So don't get so caught up in the giving back that it has to be this giant check, or it's got to be you in a selfie with a big check, or there are so many ways for you to give back to the community. And why is that important? Because it helps grow the community. I feel like Orlando is one of the most inclusive, diverse, equity-driven, sustainability-driven communities, because we as a whole give back. The real estate community is amazing at giving back. What happens, though, is if you don't choose something that's important to you, if you're only doing it for the picture, you're only doing it because you want to sponsor something, then that isn't going to give you any kind of fulfillment. Yes, is it going to have an impact? Totally. But I promise you that if you actually find something that's important to you, dogs, kids, addiction cancer survivors, abuse survivors. There's so many organizations out there that are doing great things in our world, and they need our help. If you find the one that you know matches your soul, your purpose, you're gonna know it, I promise you. Go forth and do good with it. It doesn't mean you have to cut a big check every month, but your presence and your resources and the energy and love that you bring to that just will impact everyone around you. And by the way, it's going to make you feel better, which is an awesome side effect of giving back.
Oops, I was muted. I was listening to you and I was just taking it all in and I forgot I was muted. I built a lot of my, I would say, foundation on giving back. And, to this day, it's something that is important to us. It's part of what sets my soul on fire. And how can I help someone today? And I love that, the way you just said it, and I think whether it's an organization, like you said, like the ones you named, or I had a girl who was talking to me and she was struggling, she went through an illness and she was struggling. And then I asked her, I said, what do you love to do? Because she said she needed to find that spark again. Right. And she loves plants. And then she was like, I realized it heals people. And I was like, connecting to the earth. I was like, so then be passionate about that. Give back to others through simple things like that. Maybe there's someone who needs someone like you to help inspire them to connect and, work on their soul. And, all these little things that you could do. Another agent of mine that we were talking, she goes back and she helps on a farm for horses that have gone through trauma, and she loves going there, and some disabled children go there. So that's how she gives back, and that is her safe space. Not only does it help her with her mental health, it helps give back to the other kids. It helps on the farm to heal the animals. And there's so many ways that you could give back. And like Ted said, it doesn't have to be a check. It doesn't even have to be something traumatic. It could just be something that lights your soul on fire.
I know, you want to be lit. I mean, in so many ways, but in this particular way, you want to be lit on fire, something that's important to you, something you can talk about with passion. People respond to that as well. That is another beautiful side effect of this. I'm a big believer. The more seeds you plant, the more you give back. I have reaped 10 million times what I have sowed, if that's the right word. Yeah, reap. So I feel like it's so important for people to not measure themselves again against other people. Social media is a beautiful place, and it could be a really ugly place. And if you're using it to compare yourself and not get active because you think you're not going to do it right or you don't have the resources, that's just not true. If you have a passion for something, I want you to reach out to me and I will find you the organization that will get you involved and that you can express and show your passion for by helping them out.
Ted, a couple more questions. We're down to the countdown. If someone has something that they're passionate of and they want to share on your amazing platform, how do they go about getting on the TED Show?
Well, you have to call my producers. Yeah, it's me in the ring light, kids. You just have to shoot me a message, text, reach out to me on social media. There's a link I have. If you have a story that you want to share, I am going to give you a platform. Now, I've only turned one away ever, and there was a lot of alleged Satan worship involved. So as long as you're not a hate kind of group, not saying Satanist or haters, but I want you to really come on. I'm going to create a platform for you to share that's safe, and we will just have a conversation, and you have no idea how good it will do for the community to hear about the services that you have, hear about the story you have, because we're all going through something or have been, and it's so good to remind our human friends of they're not alone.
I love that. And I think with, COVID, we learned so much, the pandemic. I think before your audience used to be very, I would say, specific to Orlando, but now I would assume that now this also gives us a platform to meet people from all over, right? I mean, if you're watching and you're not from Orlando and you've got something that you feel is going to, so a story you want to share, I'm assuming Teddy would be open to some of that.
100%. Once we understood StreamYard, which is a blessing, which is both of us use for our shows, that opened up the door. So I have a lot of followers in India. I have a lot of followers in Europe, and I have people from all over the world who come on the show to share their vision, what inspires them, because I can tell you that brings us closer together. And it's such a positive, powerful thing to hear somebody talk about their journey, whom I've never met, isn't in my circle, but just because they know about the show and we create a really safe environment, they feel good about sharing it. And I open the doors to anybody who would like to do that.
Well, I've got some people I definitely want to put in the name, give you their names, because they've just inspired me. And I know they're just blessing the world every time that they meet people and people get to hear their story. One other question that I have for you. What message would you say to everyone who's listening, who might be going through a challenging or tough time during this, new world that we're living in, and just leave us with something that reminds them that they're amazing and they can go out there and kick ass?
Yeah, y'all don't listen to whatever that voice is that's telling you you're a failure, your marriage is a failure, your business is a failure, you're not good enough. That is a voice that we all also carry with us for a very long time, most of us, or because of something traumatic that happened to us. The world that gives you all the show on social media isn't really the world. So stop comparing, stop putting yourselves down. And if you're really feeling that desperate, I want you to reach out to me. I will get you with someone, because I think it's so important that we feel like we are connected and not alone. We feel like that somebody might actually have gone through what we did or similar. Somebody will understand. And then sometimes it's just somebody will sit there and listen. Those people need to get out and not do it alone. I've had multiple suicides, I know, in the past year or two, people not expressing themselves, feeling trapped, like they can't go anywhere. And I want you guys to know you're not alone. There are so many people that can help you. Free people too. Look, I'll put you in contact with people that help out and give you things that can at least give you the basic tools. Just know that we love you and appreciate you. You're just as amazing as Veronica is and I am, if that's where we want to go. I want you to know that you're not by yourselves, and you're feeling like that. at a minimum, you don't want to call anybody else, reach out to me.
I love that. Thank you, Ted, for this. Thank you for being such an advocate for people to take care of themselves, to give back, and all that you do for the community. You are such a blessing to all of us. Guys, check out Ted's show. You could follow Ted on IG, Facebook. He's amazing. He's great on social media. He'll respond immediately. Let's share his gift, share his show, and let's get you on his show if you're someone that has a story you want to share and give back. I love you, Ted. Thank you for everything.
I love you so much. Love the Tony and the whole family. I appreciate everything you have done for me over these years. You have been a true friend and such a big supporter of mine. And that gets me choked up because that's a rare thing in this world, let alone our industry. I love you guys.
It's a lot of fun to see my friends doing well, especially with someone like you. So we've all grown up in this business together. And it's fun to see how much we've all evolved, how much we've grown, how many things that we've kind of like, I can't believe we used to do that. Now it's like we've kind of matured. So we're still on this journey together, baby. You're stuck with me.
Stuck with me. I love it.
All right. We'll see you guys soon.